Welcome back, guys. I'm Joe,
I'm Dana.
and we're with Buchanan Photography and Dana, Joe & Co. And today, what we're going to be talking to you about in this video is our client experience and the journey that we take them on, and why it's important for you to actually think about this before you get started with business, or even if you're already in business. Take a step back and just take a moment and really walk through this and really think about, hey, what is that client journey from the time that I meet them to the time that we deliver that final product, if you do that, and then really lay that foundation out and then start piecing it together. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah, it's really important to just create a consistent flow for your couples. Wedding planning is already stressful to begin with, so it's one less thing that they have to think about. And then so much goes into wedding photography on their day. You can kind of control the things that you run into that aren't so fun on a typical day when you don't plan a timeline. So having a client journey and just giving them what to expect is really key to keeping consistency within your business and the experience that you have with your couples. So.
Yeah, I think having a journey gives you kind of like a system to put in place, because then you can really know, you can expect those dates. Like, hey, I have, 3 in-person events with them, and now I can plan ahead of the time. But it also gives the couples a peace of mind because they know what to expect, right? You got to think this is their first time ever doing this. Mm-hmm. Whereas as the photographer, you've done this plenty of times, so you've seen this over and over and over again. So really, honestly, you're giving them that foundation, you're giving them that support so they feel comfortable with you and confident with you, and you're getting the information that you need. So without further ado, a lead comes in, right? And we meet with them. What's the first thing that we do when someone reaches out to us?
Our goal is to get them in person. So either a FaceTime, like video message in person so we can see them, or if they're local to us, meeting them actually in person and really kind of weeding through getting them to book, honestly. That is our main goal. I feel like it's more personal when you get to meet somebody in person. You buy them a cup of coffee or drinks or something that you can really connect more with them emotionally and personally. So I like to meet in person.
Yes, absolutely. I know there's people who booked straight over the phone, straight over through email, but it's always worked for our business to actually meet the couple in person, because we think of it almost as like an interview, right? We're interviewing them, and they're interviewing us, but it gives us the opportunity to get a real good feel for each other. So we love coffee, so we always try to do coffee. If it's later in the evening, we'll get some sangria or maybe a beer or something. But that's step one in the journey.
I think it also depends too on where you live, in your state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely having the benefit of having our business in California and being back here in Arizona, our California couples were very much like, all right, let's do this. Let's book. Yeah. They're like, no, let's meet in person. But even in person, they'd hand you a check. Right. Here in Arizona, which there's nothing wrong with that, brides are more typically what they want to be pursued, and they want to feel valued, and they want to know that their day is worth it in your eyes. And so I've noticed out here a lot more they like to definitely meet in person.
Absolutely.
So that's step one. It's coffee date.
So coffee date, and then everything goes well, they book. Yeah. What is the next step in the process?
So we do everything online. Our CRM is all through Sprout Studio, everything. Joe does the contracts, he handles that side, so I'll let him talk about that. But it goes through virtually. Everything's virtual. We hop on a call, we get them to sign, get them to pay their deposit immediately. If they didn't pay it, play it, whatever, at the coffee date. Collect that money as soon as you can, so there's no second guessing. What is it? Shopper's remorse or buyer's remorse? Buyer's remorse. Yeah. Not that they have that, but you know what I mean. It's a big investment, their wedding day. So you handle that side if you want to talk about that, and then I'll go into how I help them plan their engagement session.
Yeah. So I don't get into the nitty-gritty details, but essentially what I do is I use a program. It's called Loom. If you're not using that yet, it's fantastic. I use it with almost all of our clients. But essentially it's a way for me to, instead of going back and forth on the phone or email, I literally record a video that walks them through the booking proposal, and then I send all of that over an email, and it takes them through step by step. And then they'll sign and everything. A lot of the times what we've been trying to do more recently is literally get them on the phone and walk them through it so they have zero excuse, because I've noticed if you have them on the phone, hey, we're booking, let's get this deposit, let's sign the contract. Because here's what happens, they look at all that stuff, they get overwhelmed, and then they're off to something else, right? And then
Life happens.
it gives the opportunity for them to actually talk to other photographers, right? We've booked couples ourselves where they literally said, hey, I met with another photographer, I was about to book with another photographer, and I met you guys, I just love you guys so much, and they booked with us.
Yeah.
Now I imagine there's people we've met with who've done the same exact thing. So getting them on the phone and walking them through and getting them signed as soon as possible is the best way. Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with being aggressive in the beginning in a very polite, positive way,
Right.
but it's the people who don't speak up are the ones who are going to get forgotten. So get a little bit more, in your business, get them to book. So next step is our engagement session. A lot of our couples choose to do the engagement session with us. We highly value it. We think that it is vital to just the planning part in general for their wedding and for us as photographers to really get to connect with our couples. So if their collection did include an engagement session, we start that planning process depending on if they have our wardrobe stylist or hair and makeup offered support to them. I connect them with those right avenues. I chat with them about their location, and then generally a week before, that's when we will really nail down the details of, okay, this is sunset, this is weather, we're gonna meet here either sunrise or sunset, and vice versa. We actually plan the session out. I don't like to do it more than a week. A lot of my brides, the ones who are like Pinterest planners, they'll message me. That's totally fine. I will entertain and message them back. But when it comes to like really nailing down details, I don't do anything until a week before, because you don't know what's gonna happen to weather. And if you're promising them something and then like say, hey, a huge fire comes through and then you can't shoot at their dream location, it's happened before in California, they're bummed. And so then they go into their session thinking they were gonna get one thing and then they don't get that because that location's gone. So I'm really big on waiting until the week before, until everything's nailed down 100%, we know what's going on, and then we shoot the engagement session. So what would you say is after that?
We missed one step. When our clients book,
Did we?
we send them a welcome gift.
Oh yeah, but we're gonna talk about welcome gifts later. So that's like a little secret in there.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's not really a part of the journey. That's a
true.
surprise.
Yeah. They get a little extra something in the mail, a
It's
little extra
little
special.
breadcrumb. Keep watching the tips because we'll tell you how to do welcome gifts.
So they book, we do that, we get them in for the engagement session. All right, engagement session's over. Now the next thing that we're looking at, we do this, it really honestly varies on the couple, but we're shooting for 3 to 4 months prior to the weddings. I mean, obviously the timelines can differ, but that's just kind of a goal that we shoot for. But we know, hey, we're 3 to 4 months out, it's time to contact so-and-so and get them on the books. And what we do is we bring them in for what we call is basically we help them design their heirloom album. Like we say, hey, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna have your heirloom album meeting, right? In this meeting, what we're doing is essentially we're prepping them, right? Because really honestly, like all of our collections include an album. So what we're doing is we're getting them ready, we're getting it back in their mind, like, hey, you actually get an album.
We're planting that seed.
Right? We're planting the seed, because like if you go to do an in-person sale like after the wedding and you haven't talked about the album yet, like they just see it as an additional cost.
Yeah.
But now with this, you're helping them like really start to envision it. Like, hey, what do you see in your album? What are you excited about? How many pages? Like, if you were to have a dream album and it was sitting on your coffee table 15 years from now, like what do you envision? Mm-hmm. And they get all excited, right? So then we start thinking about all the upgrades that they want. We actually offer them a percentage saying, hey, if you get the upgrades now versus after your wedding, mm-hmm. right, you're actually going to get a percentage off of those upgrades. Now, you got to realize that they're dishing out a lot of money right now for their wedding planning, right? So given like the word discount in their mind, right, is like light bulbs going off. Now,
like, thank you.
I'm sure you're probably like, but Joe, everyone always says don't discount anything. Don't discount your photography services, but the products, I do it all the time, because at the end of the day, right, the products, you got what you pay, but then you also got what you mark it up to for your time and talent and everything. So just realizing like what makes sense for your business, right? So for us, we don't mind giving them a little bit of discount, and sometimes they'll take it then. And then once the in-person sale comes around, like they're prepped for it. They're like, yes. They see the photos and now they can finally envision it all.
I like to call it the thank you price for being prepared. It's like what I like to call it. So if I know, I'm a perfect example, I did an heirloom album meeting recently, and her mom wants an album. So she was looking at the ones that I had brought in front of her, and when they booked their collection, it had an 8x8 in it. And so she saw the 8x8 and was like, oh, that's fine. But then in person fell in love with the 10x10. And I'm like, well, your mom wants the 8x8. So we eventually worked it out to where her mother got her album and she created her dream album but her mom paid for her dream album because her mom was going to pay for an album anyways. So it was like that thank you for being prepared price. I try not to use the word like discount in front of them, but we're going to say what it is.
Right.
It's a discount.
Right.
So my biggest thing and why I like to do the Heirloom album meetings before is because I really get to see what are they focused on. Are they really obsessed with detail shots? What do they want in their album? As they're looking through those albums that we already have prepared, I can see if they're freaking out over the bride and groom photos, like, oh, I want that special moment to myself. Or they see the reception photos and how funny they are and interactive, like, oh, I really want that. I'm already making note in my mind, okay, they're really thinking reception. They're really wanting their friends involved in their wedding experience. So it's a really great way to not talk about the shot list, but to see what your couples want in a roundabout way. So, next is my favorite. We do timeline meeting. So, timeline meeting, I can't even give it like a time frame. I like to do it after the Heirloom album meeting, and I do them separate. When they start asking me like, well, when should we do this? We're gonna have a meeting on that. And I do not mix the two because it gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming for you as the photographer. It gets overwhelming for the bride. They are only doing this for the first time. They don't know what they're doing. They're just talking what they see, what they read online, asking questions that they see online of things to ask. They don't know what they're asking. So that's your job to take them through that journey. So the timeline is so important. I have a detailed list. Maybe we'll give it out and as a freebie. We'll add it. We'll attach it to the below. So if you're on YouTube, check the link below. If you're on Facebook, it'll be in the comments. But I ask a series of questions. And it's not like, okay, what time are you getting ready? 9 a.m.? Okay, perfect. I don't do that first. I have like a list of 10 questions that I'm asking to see where their mindset is already on their day. And then we work it through that way. A lot of factors you have to go into play with are, did the ceremony already get set based on the venue, or did they choose the ceremony? And I try to catch them before they send out invitations, because 9 times out of 10, they've chosen a ceremony time that is too late in the day and they've sacrificed light. And bride and groom photos are going to be non-existent. So that's when you have to play it, flip it, make it specific to them. So timeline is so important because you guys know you're with the couple more than they see each other. And it's going to be the key to your service experience and if they're going to refer you or not, if they're going to talk about you, if they're going to like the experience that you gave them. So I would say an emphasis on timeline is probably the biggest thing in our client journey that we do.
Yeah, I mean, you could do an entire video just talking about timeline.
Oh, we will.
Because honestly, with timeline, because timeline, it's like the most important thing because it keeps everything kind of on schedule. It's not like, militaristic where it's like down to the second, but it gives you a guide, something to kind of deviate from, like if Uncle Bob's running late or, it starts raining or someone doesn't show up, right? So we actually put the timeline as a requirement in our contract. So, and ever since we've done that, we've never had an issue on wedding day, and we feel that's a saving grace. So we try to do that. And don't feel like you have to do all these things in person. Again, use video. We use Zoom. You Zoom, FaceTime. Use those tools because then you're not wasting, I don't like to say wasting, but you're not driving everywhere, right? Think about how your time is valuable and is money. So just pro tip, throw it in.
I would say like 5 out of 5 I meet with them in person. And it's only the ones who are like needing the hand holding and the extra support, which I don't mind. So
all right, so next thing is we do timeline, everything is squared away. Then we do wedding day.
Yay.
I don't even feel like we need to talk about that.
No, wedding
it's
day,
just wedding day, right?
It's all prepared. It's planned for,
everything's prepared. Everything, the whole reason why we have the customer journey is because leading up to the wedding day, we show up. Not only are we well equipped with a plan in place, but we've also conditioned them and we've basically educated them and we've basically turned them into our ideal clients, right? So they're going to know exactly what to expect. They're not worried about anything. We've built that trust. We've built that rapport, that relationship. So we just show up and we do the best job that we possibly can.
I like to reference, we're like Gumby because we can like be flexible because we have a game plan.
Game plan
so
is
we know
key.
If something happens, we know what their most important parts of the days are. We know how to flip the script and change things around to make sure we hit their most important moments so they're getting those memories. So what's after wedding day?
So after wedding day,
they're all my favorite.
So after wedding day, we'll send them some sneak peeks and then we'll kind of let them know what to expect. So one of the things that we do is we'll actually get a date on the books for what we call is basically the reveal session, right? So something that we did, when we realized a lot of couples were like, hey, when are we getting our photos? When are we getting our photos? They're just excited, right? They're not bugging you. One way to eliminate that, pro tip here, is essentially to put a date on the book saying like, this is when you're getting your photos. This works in two regards. One, it holds you accountable and it's going to force you to, no kidding, get the photos done by that date. But it also prevents them from saying, hey, when are my photos going to be done? When are my photos going to be done, right? Now they have the opportunity to look forward to that date. So we'll actually put that on the date, that date on the books, and then we'll either go to their house or they'll come to our house and we'll do the premiere. So do you want to chat about what we do during that?
So the reveal, I started doing a little like slideshow mashup. They don't know about that. It's not in their contract. They're not expecting it. It's a super surprise. It's a super secret, but it's a really quick 3 to 4 minute video that they can share with family and friends of highlighted moments throughout their whole entire wedding. So it starts from the time that they get ready, details all the way up until the reception and their exit. So it's just fun. I put it to music. If you're not talented like that, I had to teach myself. It's okay. You don't have to do that. You can do a simple slideshow. But it's something that when we sit them down, they think they're going to be looking at their gallery and actually they get to watch a video. And it's just an added little extra to, you know, their service or their experience with us and the service that we provided. So I do that, and then we walk them through and actually show them their gallery. And then Joe has part of their album already done, so they can see basically a blueprint, and then they go for it. They pick out photos and they try to get it done literally like that night. So we book reveal sessions. We tell them they're about 2 hours in length, and we ask them that they're focused and attentive and here, and because they're going to be doing things with it. Like, we make it worth it. As soon as you let them leave out your door saying, okay, let us know when, you're still building it for 6 months later. If you offer albums, you know what I mean.
You want to get it done that session.
Yes.
So it's one of those things, like, just realize, like, you know, this is how we do our business. So this is just giving you ideas. Don't feel like
you have to do
you're
it
like,
this way.
oh my gosh, you
That's
know,
a lot of steps.
because it's a lot of steps and a lot of time, but that's what we're selling, right? That's who we are as photographers. That's how we try to distinguish and make ourselves stand out. So, I mean, take everything with a grain of salt, but then maybe you can put your own twist on it and be like, oh yeah, this makes sense for me. This works for us. So just keep that in mind as you're listening to that. So, you know, what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to increase our revenue. We're trying to increase the amount of money that we make by bringing them over for that reveal session. We're wining and dining them, and we're getting them to build their album right there, but we're also trying to, you know, do some in-person sales of upselling them as well. So it's just it's one of those ways where you're maximizing your profit overall for that wedding, because sometimes somebody will pay $3,000-$4,000 for a wedding, but then they'll buy $2,000-$3,000 worth of products, right? That's literally one wedding that you don't have to shoot the next year, because now you've just increased your profit. So you'd be like, well, Joe, it's 2 hours that you're spending with that couple revealing. I could spend 2 hours and make $2,000, or if you think about it, I can spend however many hours it does for just one wedding, right? You know, 24 hours, maybe 30 hours on one wedding. By the time all the meetings and the culling, the editing and everything, right? So think of it in that perspective. So then we'll do that. And then once everything's finished, we'll wrap it up, and then we'll actually order the album. And then we actually deliver the album in a photo box with some other goodies in the mail. So as you can see, like, we're gifting them, we're loving on them the entire way through, and giving them surprises, so that at the end of the day, when they're like, oh, I spent $4,100 on my collection, that was nothing. That was just a drop in it for the value that I received, because now they're going to turn in, what you want to do is turn them into raving fans.
Yes.
You go out and tell other people about your service.
Yeah.
So
that's what we do.
You got any final thoughts?
Nope, just as you're coming up with your own client journey, figure out where you're at and what you can provide right now. You do not want to add anything on your plate that you cannot give 100% to your couple. So if you do this part-time, if this is a side hustle, and you're like, Dana, I have my weekends are with my kids unless I'm shooting, like, I don't have time. Set boundaries for yourself. Say, hey, on Tuesdays, I do meetings. I can FaceTime you from this time to this time when my kids go to bed. Or you let them know, like, hey, in the morning, I'm available at this time. I will set you up. Pre-plan those, put them on the calendar so they know when to expect those, and it supports you and your timeline. Do not feel like you have to take everything that we just said and put it into your business. If you've heard a thing that you were like, I really want to do that, I want to try with one and then go from there. This isn't something we started 7 years ago. This is something that we gradually built upon, that this worked, and then we wanted to add this service, and then that worked, and then we just kept adding. Our collections, they are higher, and we want to offer a premium service to our couples. So that's why we do the client experience we do. So your experience can be anything that you make it, just we challenge you to create something.
Just be intentional about it.
Be intentional about it. and then duplicate it for every single
Yeah.
couple.
Yep, and see how it works out for you.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
We wish y'all guys the best of luck. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye,
Bye.
guys.